everybody, it's Miss Jessica, and I'm here to do some fun science experiments with you today that you can do at home as well. And I bet you can guess what we're going to be using. Balloons! I'm going to show you several different things that you can do at home with balloons. And it's going to be so much fun, and I will talk about what items you need before each experiment as we become scientists today. Now, there's a couple of things we need to talk about before we get started. First thing, always make sure it's okay with your grown-up before trying any of this at home. The second thing is that wherever you're doing your science experiments, it might be a good idea to cover your table or the surface that you're working on. I've got a cheap plastic tablecloth that I tend to get messy, so I want to make sure that I've got something down just in case something does get spilled. And the third thing is the most important. We're going to be having some fun today. All right, so our first experiment, we are going to need a couple of things. We're going to need some baking soda. We're also going to need some vinegar. You'll need an empty water bottle or a bottle that's very similar to this, and it can be any size, and that might actually change your science experiment as you're doing it. We also need a balloon, and it's a good idea to maybe have some type of tape or a rubber band that we're going to use to help our balloon during our experiment. So I've got some really fun duct tape here that we'll put on when we're doing our science experiment. Now, some other tools that might just help as you're doing this is a funnel and possibly something like a coffee stirrer or a craft stick, because as we're putting things into the funnel, this might help us just a little bit. All right, so we're going to be inflating a balloon using a science experiment. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need is our vinegar. Now, I've already put some in a cup right here just to help it be a little easier to pour as I'm putting it into my water bottle. All right, so I've got my water bottle, and I'm gonna use my funnel. I'm gonna put that right there. Now, sometimes as we're doing our science experiments today, there are grown-up steps and there are kid steps. So this can be a combination of them. So you might need your grown-up to help you with this step, but this step you should be able to do. All right, so I'm gonna take my cup of vinegar and I'm gonna pour it into my water bottle, and I want it to be just a little bit full, maybe a third of the way down. And we want to do this slowly so it doesn't get everywhere, because vinegar really smells. And I don't want to spill this all over the place. All right, so here we go. Oh, still need some more. That's a good amount. I'm gonna stop there. Now, one thing I did forget to mention is that I also have some paper towels handy, because I do tend to make a mess, so I do want to be prepared just in case. All right, the next step is that we're going to be putting some baking soda into a balloon. Now, this you will probably need some grown-up help with. Now, I actually have another funnel, so I'm going to put that right into my balloon, just like that. And then we've got our baking soda, and I'm just gonna use a little scooper here. You can use a spoon, you can use a scoop, whatever it works for you. And I am going to take just a little bit and put it in my funnel, and then make sure that that shakes down into my balloon. Now, if you need to, this is why I have a coffee stirrer. You might need to poke it in there to help it get going. And I have learned the trick that you want to do this a little at a time. If you pour a whole huge scoop into your funnel, it gets stuck in there because there's so much, it can't keep going down through that hole into your balloon. So yeah, as you're doing this step, you want to make sure to just do a little at a time, not too much. Now, this step can take a little bit, so you do want to be patient and try not to rush it. All right, now, when you're doing this, you want to get a pretty good size in your balloon. Now, I've already got one ready. So, because I didn't want us to have to wait. So I'm gonna take my balloon that I filled up, and you can see I've got a pretty good amount in there earlier. Now, this is the tricky part. So grown-ups definitely help with this part. So I'm gonna take my balloon and put it on top of my water bottle. Now this can be a little tricky to get over there. And we wanna make sure that that is on nice and tight. Now, just as an extra added measure, I'm gonna put some duct tape on there because I don't want this to come off and then everything to go everywhere. That wouldn't be very much fun. So I'm gonna tear off a couple pieces and put that around. You can also use a rubber band. You can use a different type of tape. But I had this really, really fun duct tape and I thought, oh, this is perfect. All right, we'll get some on this side. Okay, now here comes the fun part. Okay, so we are going to tip our balloon into our vinegar. And we are going to be creating a chemical reaction. And when that happens, they're going to mix together and create all kinds of extra gas. And that gas, where's it gonna go? Let's see what happens. All right, so here we go. Oh, there it goes. Oh, I can hear it bubbling. Can you hear that? Whoa, look how much it's inflating it. Wow. Oh my goodness. So where did the gas go that was created in our chemical reaction? It went into the balloon. So all of this gas, when we mixed our vinegar and baking soda, it went into this balloon right here. Now, this is a fun gas. It's carbon dioxide, and it's the balloon and that gas that's in there, it's a little heavy, so my balloon wants to tip over. It doesn't want to stand straight up. But wow, that inflated pretty big. That was pretty fun. All right, I'm going to clean up and get ready for our next experiment. And this one you don't want to miss because it will definitely drive your grown-up crazy. All right, I'll be right back. All right, now one thing I forgot to mention with our first experiment is that you can do a lot of different things to try and change things and see how they work. So you can try different amounts of vinegar, you can try different amounts of baking soda, you can even try different size balloons and see what happens when you just change things a little bit, and then you can become a real scientist by doing an amazing experiment, right? All right, so our next one, I like to call this one a screaming balloon. Now, for the first part, you will need some grown-up help, but for this experiment, we need a balloon. Now, we also need what's called a hex nut, and that is this little tiny nut, and it has 6 sides to it. Usually you can find these in a hardware store or where they have tools, and you can pick up usually a pack of these, and sometimes they'll have screws with them because you use them to hold things together. So you might find these with screws and all you do is just pull those apart. But this is a little nut that has 6 sides to it. And you might know what shape that is if it has 6 sides. It's a hexagon. So that's why it's called a hex nut. Okay, now this is the grown-up part. This is very important that a grown-up does this part. Okay, so I'm gonna put my hex nut into my balloon. And now we're gonna blow this up. So here we go. All right, and now I'm gonna tie it. Now the reason it's important a grown-up does that part is because the hex nut is in there, and I don't want anybody to accidentally get the hex nut in their mouth. And you can hear it bouncing around in there. Now, this is the fun part. So you are gonna take your balloon that has the hex nut in there, and we're going to make it so that it goes in kind of a circle. So I'm gonna take my hand and hold it just right up here, and then I'm going to move the balloon in a circle. And you're gonna start to hear a really fun noise, and you'll definitely know why we call this experiment a screaming balloon. Okay, here we go. Whoa, it's still going even though I'm not spinning the balloon any longer. All right, so what happens is that hex nut, it starts bouncing around in a circle because we're making it spin and we're using gravity to help pull that out into a centripetal force into a circle so that it'll go around inside our balloon. And it starts bouncing around on the insides. And then because it's bouncing around really, really, really fast along the sides, that's what makes that noise. Now, you can try this at home and see what happens when you stop spinning, if it still keeps making that noise. Now, we're using a hex nut, which is circular and has those little sides to it, those 6 sides. You can try different objects and see if they make a noise, like a penny or something else that you find, a marble maybe, see if that makes a noise. And that's what's fun about being a scientist, is that you get to experiment. Now, I will tell you that because we're doing this and we're making that hex nut bounce around in the balloon, and it's vibrating all along the sides there, it does start to break the balloon down. So if you are doing this for a while, your balloon might pop. And that's always a surprise when we do this experiment in any of my science programs. So as you're doing this, just be aware that you can do it a couple of times, but if you keep going, your balloon will pop because it's starting to break down that balloon. All right, so that was a fun one. Let's do another one. All right, for our next experiment, you're going to need a balloon. You will also need an empty soda can. And I used an empty cream soda can, but it can be any flavor as long as it's an aluminum can. And we are going to make this can move like magic without even touching it. So what we're going to do is we are going to take our balloon and you're going to rub it in your hair. So my hair is going to get very messy. We are going to build up a lot of static electricity. Now, static electricity means that we're putting electricity on this balloon that doesn't move. Now, while we're doing this, we are building it up on this balloon. And in just a moment, we're going to lay our can on its side on a table, and the balloon will make the can move. It's amazing. It's magic. Now, while we're doing this, if you, for some reason, cannot seem to get some static electricity in your hair, if you've got carpet at home, then you can definitely use the carpet. And sometimes if the air is really damp, this just doesn't work very well. But a lot of times in the winter months, it works really, really well because it's cold, and the air is dry, and so we've got a lot of static electricity built up. All right, so I'm actually gonna switch the camera so that you can see this a little bit better, but we're gonna see our can move by magic. All right, hold on. All right, so we've rubbed the balloon on our head, and let's see if we can get our can to roll. So I'm just gonna place it next to it. And look at that. It's trying to follow my balloon just like magic. All right, so we already talked about how we were putting static electricity on our balloon. Now you may have noticed that the color of my balloon changed from red to orange. It's because I accidentally popped the red balloon. Okay, so what we were doing was we were putting static electricity on our balloon, which has a negative charge to it. And the soda can has a positive charge to it, so they were very attracted to each other. And so that soda can was really trying to get to that balloon because they were very attracted to each other, and that's how that works. Now, if you really want to be a scientist at home, you can try different sized balloons. You can try to see if the amount of time rubbing affects it. You can see if different lengths of hair affects how this works. You can even try putting some water in your can and see, not too much though, just a little bit, and see if that affects it, if you can still pull the can, and how much water will make that stop working. So there's lots of things you can do to change this. You can also even change the size of your balloon and see if that affects it. So there's lots of ways to be a scientist for this. Okay, we're going to do our last experiment, and this one is a good one. We are going to be making marshmallow poppers. Now, to make this, we are going to need a cup. We will need some scissors, so that's a grown-up step. We'll also need a balloon. I've got a green one. I would recommend having some tape or a rubber band. And, of course, since we're making a marshmallow popper, we'll need some marshmallows. And we might accidentally eat a few as we're making this. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is to take your cup and to actually cut a hole in it. And this is why this is a grown-up step. Now for this one, I used a paper cup, and this is very easy to cut that hole in the bottom. Earlier, I used a plastic cup to make it, and it was a little more difficult. So even grown-ups, be very careful as you're doing this step. Oh, there goes some more. Okay, now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our balloon, and I'm gonna actually blow it up just a little bit just to get it stretched out a little bit, and then we're gonna deflate it again. Okay, so here we go. All right, now with no air in it, I'm gonna tie a knot in the top. So this might be a grown-up step, just like that. Okay, so now we're also gonna need some scissors. So again, a grown-up step. Make sure it's okay with your grown-up if you're going to help them with this step. And I'm gonna cut the top of my balloon off. So just like that. So now you should have a balloon that looks like this. Okay, so we're gonna put this around the bottom of our cup. Pretty straightforward. Now, that's why I like to use a paper cup for this, or the kind of party cups that you can get in the store, because they're pretty sturdy, but yet it's still pretty easy to get the bottom off. Now, we're definitely gonna secure this with some duct tape. So I'm gonna get a couple pieces and then put this around. Now these are fun to make if you want to decorate your cup. I mean, I'm using really fun patterned tape, so that's kind of like a decoration. You can put stickers on it. You can do all kinds of things with your cup to make it fun. And one more piece, just to be sure. Okay, then I'm gonna press that down just to make sure that my balloon does not come off the cup, because then that's no fun. All right, now we need some marshmallows, so let's open this. And let's just start with one for now. And maybe one for your mouth too. Only if it's okay with your grown-up. Okay, so now I'm gonna put this right here in my cup. And I wanna try to get it towards the middle. And as I'm pulling back my balloon, it will actually just fall right in there. Now, depending on how far back you pull your balloon, depends on how far your marshmallow will go. So let's see what happens if I pull it back a little far. I don't know if you even saw that. It went all the way across the room. That was amazing. All right, let's try that again. I'm gonna put a couple in there, and I'm gonna see if I can get to you at home. All right, ready? Here we go. Whoa! That was amazing. Now for this, you can put all kinds of things in there. I like to use marshmallows because one, they're fun to eat, but two, they're really, really light, so they go really far when you're doing a marshmallow popper. But you can also use pom-poms. You can use ping pong balls. You can use all kinds of things. You could even use paper and just kind of crumple it up in a ball to put in there. And the possibilities are endless. Now, to have some fun with this at home and to become a scientist and experiment, you can see what different items, how far they go, and you can measure. You can see if you can hit targets. You can also see how far they go and what happens if you change how far you pull your balloon back. What does that do? So there's lots of ways to conduct a lot of different experiments with this. So let's do it one more time. Whoa! Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you had some fun with our experiments, learning how to inflate a balloon, being a scientist, making a really loud screaming balloon. Also, learning how we can move an aluminum can with magic and making a really fun popper that you could have some fun with at home. So the possibilities are endless of all kinds of things you can do with balloons when you're doing science experiments. Now, don't forget to subscribe to our EVPL library YouTube page, and then you will always see all of our new videos anytime we post them. Don't forget to go to evpl.org for all of our resources, including all of our digital resources that you can find there. And I can't wait to see you soon.